We love horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and we watch them for 2 days straight, and then we go write a book. Now we're looking back at every title, one at a time, in this podcast that we put out monthly. Once we've had an episode for every movie, it's time to meet up for another Shock Marathon. All right, the red record light is red, which means we're here, and we're doing an interview with Joel Rice, one of our all-time favorite actors. So this is Matt Farley here with Charlie.
Hello.
And Tom.
Hi.
And we're here with Joel Rice, who plays Radish in Final Exam. Hello, Joel.
Hey, guys.
Just so you know about what we're all about, we've just been huge fans of the VHS horror stuff, 70s and 80s. And we discovered Final Exam during the three of us did a 48-hour horror movie like sleepover party 15 years ago, and we were way too old for it even then.
When you say it that way.
But Final Exam made a huge impact on us. We loved every second of it, and Radish is an unbelievable character. So bravo, and if you're cool, we're gonna just start shooting questions at you.
Sure.
Charlie.
All right. Thank you, Farley. All right, Joel. So I was just wondering what the audition process was like for Final Exam, how you got involved with the project.
So I was not a professional actor. It was the summer of my junior year of college. I was lived with my brother for the summer, and my best friend came with me. And I just saw an ad in a local trade paper, went in and auditioned. It was my first professional audition ever.
Wow.
And it was just sort of a fluke. And then my best friend and I got in a car to drive cross country. I went to Wesleyan University, and we were driving back for our senior year. And I got a call from my brother because I used his number. Back then, we didn't have cell phones, or I don't think. So he called me. We were in Utah, and he said that I had a call back the next day. And so I left my friend in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and he waited there for me, and I flew back for the call back. And they had narrowed it down to 5 people for each role, which is pretty significant to narrow it down to that degree so quickly. So I had that call back, and I asked them when would they decide, and they said, well, over the next week or so, but there will not be another audition. So I decided even if I got the part, I would go the rest of the cross-country trip with my buddy, and we drove. And then when I got to Kansas, I had gotten another call from my brother saying it was down to 2 of us, and I had to fly back again. And at that point, my friend drove the rest of the way cross-country, and I waited in LA for the results, and I got cast.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Okay, I know you're going to comment, Farley.
Yeah, go.
I just say, I thought it was going to be a fun little story that was way better than I thought it could ever be. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Okay. So you filmed it at a college in North Carolina, correct?
Yes.
So
Shelby, North Carolina.
First off, we have dreams of going there and taking a tour, just so that we can ask the tour guide, like, is this the room where Radish was? Which we think would be so much fun. And chances are the tour guide wouldn't know. But tell us, what was it like on campus there? Were there students and professors on campus, and how did they interact with you guys?
I think we were shooting it during the summer, so it was not active. That was the idea, to be able to shoot at a campus that's not in session. So that you were seeing extras in our cast, and we just had access to the university. We rented the location, basically.
That's and they were cool. So all the extras were just people that you brought in.
Correct. A funny story I just thought of, and I really haven't thought of any of this for a long time, is that it was a fairly low-budget film. It was non-union, and so they didn't have the way it works normally in a movie is you have a caterer that serves lunch, and you have a craft service truck. They didn't have that, so we would go to the nearest restaurant for lunch. And on the day that I was filming my, there's no like ruining anything, right? I can talk openly about what happens in the
Yeah,
film, right?
no
There's no,
Sure.
spoilers. No
no
spoilers.
spoiler
Go,
alert.
yeah,
Yeah.
go for it. Yeah.
So I had that blood on my face because it was lunchtime and we had to we were breaking for lunch and it was like made of food coloring and syrup, and they didn't want me to take it off because then it would be a whole big deal to put it back on. So I went to this lunch, which was like a buffet at a nearby place, and I just remember kids coming up to me being freaked out that I had blood all over my face.
Wow, that's great. No, this is Tom. I had a question about the character itself. Is it seems like compared to a lot of the other characters, Radish has kind of a lot more personality, and we were curious if that was written into the character, if that was something you brought to it. 'Cause it seemed like there's just a lot more going on with the Radish character.
I would say it's probably a combination since it was the male lead. A writer tends to make sure that they try to give a little bit more complexity to the leads. But it was probably my own what I brought to it to a large extent.
Yeah, 'cause it just seems like the character is so memorable, and just we kind of in rewatching it recently we remembered some of the characters and like Wildman and some of the other things that had gone on, but there was never a moment where we ever forgot Radish. So it's bravo for for making that live on.
Yeah, and when we watch the marathons, we watch so many movies in a row that we're looking for something that kind of grabs us, and Radish definitely did. And to that end, Radish, such a unique character name. Do you know why he was called Radish, or was that ever discussed?
No, I mean I think it was the director was also the writer. It was just kind of a geek name, I think was the idea.
I love it. It's not like mean or too much. It's so unique, and it really helped it stick in our minds, I think.
Yeah, it's an amazing name. Now, we love the fact that the killer in the movie has like no personality and seemingly no motivation. It's just there is a killer, and we don't have to know his backstory, and we don't have to see him all that much. Is that the fact that there's no motivation? Was that something that was discussed during filming, and what do you think of that?
It definitely was a strategy by the writer-director to not be like anything else. And the truth is that 90% of crimes are with no motivation. They're just random, that, and it's kind of a scary thing to think about. And so I think he thought it would be scarier. But I have to admit that when I did interviews for the film, I got a certain amount of crap as if I wrote it, which had nothing to do with it. But like, how could there be no motivation? How, so people either loved that about it or didn't like it. I mean, I think it defies the convention because, that is sort of story structure that something would be revealed. But the writer-director really wanted to have it be something that really could happen, and the way it often is.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant move because anytime I'm dealing with the backstory of the killer, I'm not that interested, and it's usually not very enjoyable stuff to watch. Whereas the time I'm spending with Radish and the other characters on campus is fun. So I'd rather have some fun. Tom, what do you got?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because your character Joel says a few times even in the movie something to that effect. Like violence kind of happens without reason, and a lot of the percentages of the crimes are not. There's not any purpose to it, and it seems it's interesting that your character has that insight, and you kind of bring that to it, even as the lead. You're not the lead that's just kind of running scared and not knowing what's going on. You kind of know what's going on, but don't really know what to do about it.
Yeah, well, he was obsessed with true crime and all the big crime cases. That was his. His favorite book was Helter Skelter, that kind of thing.
Interesting. But when your character actually does finally meet his end, it's a pretty violent scene. I think it feels like you kind of get dragged through a door, and there's like splinters of wood, and it's pretty violent. And we were wondering if that was actually you doing that, or if it was a double or some sort of effects, because it seemed kind of dangerous.
It was me, and being my first professional gig, I didn't know to have it not be me. But it really wasn't that dangerous. It was they put a fake panel in the door so
Mm-hmm.
that the killer could punch through it.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't. If I remember correctly, he just punched through that panel and then pulled my head through the thing. It wasn't particularly dangerous or anything.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's cool. But I gotta say, man, it really works. I
Yeah.
think in the era of VHS too, and when kids would like watch that, they would definitely rewind it and be like, "Whoa, what did I just see?" That
Yeah.
takes you by surprise. I was wondering, Joel, if you had seen like Halloween or Friday the 13th prior to filming Final Exam, and if you were interested in them at all, or
I don't want to disappoint anyone, but horror. I was not particularly interested in horror films, and that's often the kind of film that you get when you're first starting out.
hmm
So it was kind of funny to be during that time. There was an energy of like too much violence in film, so I was going around doing interviews, and people were criticizing me for the fact that there's so much violence in films. But
mm
horror films are like a roller coaster, and I understand. It's fun. It's a thrill ride, and I think people really enjoy it for that reason. And you have to keep the adrenaline rush going throughout. I had seen Halloween, and that was sort of a little bit of our model, I think, because I
yeah,
thought that was the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
yep, I'm
Now,
with you.
kind of on that topic, it's a horror movie, but a lot of it's just like a campus comedy a little bit too. And we love a change in tone. So one minute we're watching a killer stalk someone or even kill someone, and then there's a moment where your character is struggling to express feelings for the main girl. Um, was the director going for comedy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think he was trying to capitalize on the Meatballs meets a horror film kind of thing.
That's pretty cool. And specifically, our favorite moment is when Courtney says, "Why is it that you make me laugh so much?" And then Radish panics and says, "I've got to go do inventory for the coach." We laughed like mad at that moment. Were you guys on the set? Did everyone appreciate the brilliance of that humor?
Uh, well, you can't laugh while no one can make any sounds while you're shooting.
For sure.
uh,
But I just mean after the fact. Did everyone know that how great that was? It was some amazing timing on your part.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I guess so. I mean, for me, I'm playing it. I think comedy comes best from playing it for real, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing the reality of that moment for me, which was that I'm in love with her and that I don't know what to do at this moment. But of course, I understand the comedic um, rhythm. So you're sort of playing two things. You play it for real, and then you time it for comedy.
Well, you nailed it. Congratulations. Well done.
Yes. Yes,
I
indeed.
remember a story that the night before actually, it was the night before I shot the phone call scene where where I found the dead body.
Uh-huh.
oh yeah,
Um, and all the guys, we were all young, and everybody was wanting to go out, and they wanted to go out into the town that night, and for me, I took it very, very seriously, and so I chose not to go out with almost everyone. I think just the woman playing Courtney and I didn't go, and they were out really late, and they got mixed up in something, and I was so grateful that I spent the evening just preparing because I knew it was an opportunity. I mean, it was my very first film, my very first audition, and I knew I didn't want to squander the opportunity. So I took it pretty seriously.
I like that. I mean, you guys aren't there to party and get in trouble. You're there to get a project completed. So I totally go with you on that one. Tom, what's your next question?
Yeah, kind of along those lines. We noted, especially in rewatching this recently, how some of the characters, especially like Wildman, were pretty wild. Like some of the stunts, like when he was like shooting like deodorant in his mouth and kind of like acting totally crazy. We're wondering if there was any, like you just said, like characters like that the the actors that were actually characters that were kind of crazy and unreliable and stuff on the set like that.
He wasn't one of them, actually. He was probably the other most serious, besides, I mean, all the women took it very seriously. So, but as far as the guys went, he was probably the other one that took it very seriously. You know, he was really the comedic, what do you call it? Comedic relief, comic relief.
Yeah.
No, he was a very good guy and actually very bright. But I don't know if you guys noticed, having watched it more than once, a continuity mistake. Have you know what that is?
Of course, but which one are you referring to?
Well, I'm not going to tell you. Did you notice any?
Is it with Wildman's jersey?
No. I mean,
No.
there might be more than the one I'm thinking of, but
Well,
the
you'll know
one for
better.
me, it really wasn't a continuity mistake. It was a editing choice where they, sometimes you want to use a take from one take, and then you want to use some from another take, but it doesn't match up. So it's not that we made a mistake. The editor chose to do it because it was something that you really wouldn't notice unless you paused it and then started it back up again. So I will tell you to look at the scene where Wildman throws me down and then picks me by my belt up, and you'll see if you can see some mismatch there.
Challenge accepted.
All right.
I think we got to watch Final Exam again.
Nice. Any excuse to watch again, we'll take. Charlie, what do you got?
Very nice. Okay, Joel. Did you guys have a premiere party for this, or like an opening night screening, cast and crew screening, something like that?
Yeah, we did in a theater in Westwood, and then I'm from Boston, and so there was a screening at Saks 57, I think it's called, and at the time I had no money, so I didn't even actually get to go, which was a bit of a bummer because my whole family was there, but my dad was in the mode of, having me learn the value of money and all that kind of stuff, and so I missed out on that one. But then my parents saw it in a drive-in theater also, which was pretty exciting for them because you know how huge those screens are.
Oh, fantastic.
How did have you been recognized by strangers as Radish, and how have your friends and family reacted to the movie?
Well, it's a long time ago. So at the time, was I recognized? Not really that much. That we did have a DVD anniversary. They were releasing the DVD on. They were switching it to DVD, and it was the 25-year anniversary. So it must have been about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the people that were doing that were huge fans. This one woman had a T-shirt on that said "I love Radish," and that kind of cracks me up because it wasn't that huge of a film at all, and so no, I didn't really get recognized particularly.
Nice. What did your parents think of it?
Well, everyone, I was still in college, and so it was a huge deal that I was starring in a feature film, my very first audition. So it was extremely exciting, and it's a great memory for me.
Cool.
That's great. Does the revival of Final Exam and other films like that on DVD and now Blu-ray, does that inspire you to get back into the horror slasher genre in any realm?
I don't know if you know what I do professionally now. I'm not an actor anymore. I'm a producer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I make films for television, and I do television series. I've made about 60 television films. Wow. And So I'm trying to think if I've really ever done anything in the horror genre. I mean, I haven't done just overtly horror. I've done thrillers. I did a thriller called Unstable. So it's like more like a Hitchcock horror film, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a film called One Kill with Sam Shepard and Anne Heche. That was a thriller, a military thriller. So I've done several thrillers, but I haven't really done on television. They don't really do horror films per se, although now they do. Obviously, American. Do you guys like American Horror Story?
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I usually watch the old stuff, like at VHS era, like your Final Exam era. That's
Generally,
Charlie's angle.
We're trapped in the 70s and 80s.
But you should watch. I mean, not that I watch it, but American Horror Story is like today's version of those. You know, it's supposed to be pretty intense and pretty intelligent.
We got just a few more. Charlie, what do you got?
Yeah, Joel, did you ever see Final Exam in the video store when you would be browsing, or did you ever rent it?
Yeah, I have it. So I have
Cool.
I don't really need to rent it, obviously, but I did definitely enjoy seeing it in the video store.
Okay, that's cool. That's our nostalgia for that era is very strong.
If I would have gone to the video store daily just to like check up on it, but that's pretty awesome. Now, lots of with your made-for-TV stuff, I kind of find a similarity between a lot of made-for-TV movies and the horror stuff that we like from the 70s and 80s, in that they're going to be lower budget than a big theatrical release, and they're often have like a specific audience in mind. For instance, you did Cyberbully, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's a movie that's marketed towards teenagers. Am I right in thinking that there's a similarity between the style of filmmaking between low budget horror and a made for TV?
Well, and maybe you're right in that you're trying to make the most of the money you have. But I mean, I think that the things that are the most like a horror film of the 70s and 80s are the films that I probably did at the beginning of my career that were women in jeopardy kind of films. Like I did something called Dangerous Intentions or The Disappearance of Vonnie. I mean, these were like those kind of films, but on television. But I ended up being a social worker after I was an actor, so I did a lot of movies that were issue driven. Cyberbully is an example of something I'm very proud of because it's a really important issue for kids, and they show that all over the country in schools.
Yeah, I work also in social work, and the kids where I work have all watched Cyberbully and loved it. So bravo, well done.
And then I've done a bunch of, because I have two daughters that are teenagers, and so I enjoyed doing stuff that was targeted for their age group. So I've done Disney Channel films. Recently, this year, I did Bad Hair Day with the mother from Good Luck Charlie and Laura Marano, and then the year before, I did a movie called Zapped with Zendaya Coleman. And I did, about 5 years ago, a very funny boy humor Nickelodeon, their first television film called Shredder Man.
So are your daughters begging you to take them to the set?
One is, they like coming to the set. One always wants to be in it. The other one likes observing.
Very cool. Tom?
Or
is that all your questions?
I think Charlie had another.
Yeah, I just have one other one, Joel. I know on horror, like you said, you try to make the most of your money. Usually the schedules are pretty tight, I think, shooting days wise.
Mm-hmm.
And was there anything that you kind of like picked up on while you were doing Final Exam that you filed away in the back of your head and you were like, if I'm ever producing a movie, or this is a good way to do it, or this is maybe a better way to do it that I'm just thought of? Does anything from that time?
I remember it was late at night when I was doing the phone call scene, and there was a lot of tension about, we had to wrap soon. And I remember thinking that they were sort of trying to get me to rush my way through it. And, you know, I thought it even then, but I certainly thought it since then, that that isn't what takes the time. I mean, there's no reason to, once you're rolling, you shouldn't rush. And the one thing not to rush is the performance. You know, maybe some less time should be spent lighting it, or, you know, or on a less important scene. But so, I mean, it stuck with me that you don't want to do such an important scene at the end of the night where you're going to have to rush it. So I always pressure directors to, because inevitably you're rushing at the end of the night, to not put important scenes at the end, and to really think about how much time you have in your day, and go quickly on something that doesn't matter so that you're not jeopardizing something important.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because ultimately, I mean, if it looks a little, if it's not lit perfectly, but the performance is great, I'll take that over, you know, the opposite of those two things. So I'm with you 100%. We make movies ourselves, super, you know, 10 times lower budget than Final Exam, but we have fun doing it, and we just have a lot of respect for, because we know that the late nights and the early mornings and the long hours of what goes into making these things, and you know, and there probably wasn't a lot of money out of it either, so it's a real labor of love, and that's pretty darn cool. Yeah,
I think I made $500 a week.
Yeah,
for 4 weeks.
Yeah, pretty awesome. But you know, you probably didn't think that 35 years later, some guys would be drilling you with questions about it.
Who are you guys anyway?
We're just three friends. We went to college together, Providence College in Rhode Island, and we have just regular day jobs, but we like to make fun, low-budget horror movies every few years. But
what is this? Is this do you have a fan base that listens to your shows? You tape them and then you play them for them, or how does that work?
Yeah, we just put this out online through. It goes up on iTunes and any other podcast sites, and we have a small but loyal group of devotees to this type of movie who listen to us every month. So you'll have a lot of Final Exam fans really excited about this.
Yeah. So you do it. It comes out once a month.
Yeah, once a month. Usually we just analyze one of the movies. There's a few months ago we did Final Exam, and we spent an hour just discussing scene by scene everything that's wonderful about it. But then you're the first actor that we've gotten to have on the show, and we're thrilled.
Cool.
So we'll just wrap this up and ask: Are any other memories you want to share about the experience, either making it or the aftermath of making it?
Well, I would have I was wondering if you're going to ask me, because I was definitely in love with the actress playing Courtney, which is such a common thing that happens when you're, especially when you're single, when you're filming, and and you're supposed to be in love with them. And as an actor, you try to, you look for things to fall in love with or to hate or whatever the character stuff is required. And so I definitely remember falling in love with her during that filming. And we became really good friends. We never got involved romantically, but we became very good friends for a lot of years. And then we've drifted since then. But we were the two people that understood that this was the start of something.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And
Nice.
The two of you on screen together, there's great chemistry there for real, so it shows.
Cool.
Well, Joel Rice, we can't thank you enough. Tom?
Can we clap a little bit?
Yeah, could we just
never
clap
did
for
this
you real
before,
quick?
but that's super nice of you.
You're a
Take your time.
legend, and seriously, you're super busy with all the stuff you're doing, so we can't thank you enough for taking time out.
Happy to. Will you send me a note where how I can go about listening to it with my family?
Yeah, we'll send you a link in a couple days, probably.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right, have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, that's it. We got Joel Rice. Can you first off, guys,
Sunday night.
Sunday
Takes his
night.
time out.
It's a good thing he's in on the West Coast, so it's not so late for him, which is nice. But
True.
is there any question the Radish? He sounds just like Radish. Isn't that so cool?
Yeah.
Which of course he does sound like Radish.
Why are you surprised?
Why wouldn't he? But
I was surprised too.
but I don't know. It's just so like for years, Radish
Very
is
youthful sounding.
yeah. 35 years later, he just sounds like Radish, and it's just so weird to have a character who's this character on the screen, and then we're talking to him.
Yeah, he was
That's amazing.
very well spoken.
He knows movies. He knows the business. He's the real deal.
Yeah, he's done both, which is pretty cool. I mean, for him to say that he felt being rushed was bad during his first movie, that's exactly the kind of thing I could imagine you'd file away and say, when I become a producer, I'm never doing that to somebody, you know?
Yeah. We rush our actors all the time.
Yeah, well, we're learning from Joel, and we gotta. When we rush you, you're good at that. Because you know it needs to get done. But
yeah. But Tom, didn't you get chills hearing him talk?
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing the details that he recalled too. You know, I don't remember anything from like last year, and he remembered a lot of the details and some nice stories and
where he was when all the phone calls came in, when he was driving across the country, and that's a story.
It's
Jeez.
pretty awesome, and it was it was released nationwide, so it was a big deal, and
with no agent.
That's amazing.
He just looked in the newspaper.
That's
That's
awesome.
amazing. That's like the old time. I want to be in pictures, and you look down the.
And then it happens. Yeah.
And then the tenacity to continue going back. You know, so a lot of people, 99 out of 100 people would probably just say, I'm on a road trip. I forget about this acting thing. But he's like, I'm going to fly back and do it, and then I'm going to fly back again. I mean, that is, for no guarantees of anything, really.
I know. If you're one of 5, it's like, man, that's a lot of.
That's impressive.
A big risk, yeah. So, listeners, thanks for joining us on this journey.
Tell all the Final Exam fans.
Tell all the Final Exam fans that
this is gold.
We've made contact with Joel Rice. I like this, guys. We should. I've put out a few other emails to actors without, but any response. But some of them I don't even know if the emails are up to date or what. But we should keep doing this, huh?
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah. Pahu isn't alive anymore, right?
I don't think so. No.
Dennis Fimple? I don't think so.
No. All right.
But it would be nice. It would be
Some
nice.
Silent Night, Deadly Night. Anything to do with that series would be fantastic.
We should get
I'm sorry, Tom. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say it would be nice to talk to Courtney too from Final Exam to
that's a good idea.
Get her side of things.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting. Or Wildman. Really, just to get the different perspectives. It seems like there are some characters on the set.
Yeah, I wish I was there. Don't you?
Yeah. But then we could say, like, thank you for tuning into the Final Exam podcast. This week we have the lighting guy. Like each month it's a new.
We'll change the whole. The podcast is just tracking down everyone ever involved in Final Exam.
I like it.
All right. Well, we did it, guys.
Yeah, thanks to Joel. That's right.
Yeah, we did it.
Thank you.
All right, listeners, we'll be back next month probably with another movie review, unless we acquire another interview subject.
Cool.
For Tom and Charlie, this is Farley saying good night.